Mr. Hill. Congratulations. Cloud Vault Technologies is ringing the bell today. Tomorrow you'll be another billion-dollar giant in the city. The investment banker, portly and red-faced, approached me with a glass raised high, his voice carrying across half the banquet hall. I smiled, raised my glass, and clinked it gently against his. Mr. Walsh, you're too kind. This is the result of everyone's hard work. And our investors' keen vision. Oh, Mr. Hill. Always so modest. Everyone knows Cloud Vault was raised by your own hands. From 3 people in a tiny office to standing on the NASDAQ stage today. You're the true anchor. I smiled politely, but felt nothing. I'd heard these same platitudes hundreds of times since we decided to go public. My gaze drifted past the crowd, landing on a couple not far away. My wife, Susan Sue, was deep in conversation with a young man. Tonight, she wore a custom midnight blue gown, its skirt scattered with tiny diamonds that sparkled under the crystal chandeliers. She was stunning. Absolutely breathtaking. The man beside her was her assistant, Derek Koo, a fresh graduate barely 2 years out of college. Young, handsome, smooth-tongued, always hovering around Susan, calling her sister Sue with a familiarity that grated on me. At that moment, Derek leaned in close, almost whispering in her ear. Whatever he said made Susan cover her mouth and laugh. Her eyes bright in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. My heart tightened, like an invisible hand squeezing it. A partner from one of our clients approached, interrupting my thoughts. Mr. Hill, I've heard so much about you. I pulled my gaze back, slipped on my business smile, and exchanged pleasantries. After working the room for a while, I felt drained. I stepped out onto the terrace alone, hoping for some air. The night breeze was cool, carrying away some of the alcohol's haze. I just lit a cigarette when I heard footsteps behind me. Hiding out here alone to smoke. What's the matter? Going public doesn't make you happy. It was Susan's voice. I didn't turn around. Too noisy inside. Susan came to stand beside me, mimicking my posture, leaning on the railing as she looked down at the traffic below. Ethan, how long has it been since we stood together like this? There was a hint of wistfulness in her voice. I exhaled a plume of smoke, watching it dissolve into the night. Forgot. My coldness seemed to catch her off guard. She was quiet for a moment, still upset about what happened earlier today. Earlier that day, we'd fought again, over something as trivial as which assistant she'd bring to the banquet. I didn't want Derek there. She insisted. In the end, I'd given in. I didn't want to let something so petty ruin such an important day. No, I said flatly. Good. Her voice brightened. Listen. There's something I wanted to run by you. Go ahead. Derek's a sharp kid. Capable. Hardworking. I'd like to promote him to associate director. What do you think? My fingers paused. Ash falling onto the railing's smooth surface. He's your assistant. You make the call. You don't need my approval. How can you say that? The company's yours. Major personnel decisions need your sign-off. There was a hint of playfulness in her voice. Something that used to be our private intimacy. Now it just felt grating. Whatever you want. I stubbed out my cigarette in the nearby ashtray and turned to leave. Just then, Derek appeared with 2 glasses of champagne. Mr. Hill. Sister Sue. His smile was radiant. He handed one glass to Susan and extended the other to me. Mr. Hill. Let me toast you. Congratulations on Cloud Vault's successful IPO. And thank you for everything you and Sister Sue have taught me. I didn't take the glass. Derek's hand hung awkwardly in the air. Susan's expression soured. She nudged my arm. Ethan. Derek's toasting you. I looked at Derek. His eyes held no embarrassment. Only a faint, almost imperceptible challenge. Like a peacock desperate to assert dominance. I suddenly felt exhausted by it all. I'm tired. I'm going home. I said. And turned to walk back inside. Ethan. Susan called after me. Annoyance creeping into her voice. I ignored her. Back in the lounge, I shrugged off my suit jacket and loosened my tie. Collapsing onto the sofa, I felt a wave of restlessness wash over me. How had Susan and I ended up here? We were college sweethearts. We'd built everything from nothing. I thought we were the most unshakable partnership. But somewhere along the way, the conversations grew shorter and the fights grew longer. She started complaining I didn't understand romance. That I only cared about work. That I couldn't give her the companionship she needed. Then Derek appeared. Young. Handsome. Full of sweet words. And plenty of time to devote to her. The lounge door pushed open. Derek walked in, closing the door behind him. The smile vanished from his face, replaced by undisguised contempt and arrogance. Mr. Hill. Why leave so early? The real show tonight is just getting started. I looked up coldly. This is my lounge. Who let you in? Derek acted as if he hadn't heard. He walked to the drinks cabinet, poured himself some whiskey, swirled the amber liquid, and approached me, looking down with a smirk. Mr. Hill. No need to be so hostile. We're practically family now. No point being so formal. I frowned. What are you talking about? Derek chuckled. A mocking sound. Isn't it obvious? He leaned in, lowering his voice to a whisper. After tonight, you, and this company of yours, will be mine. The door pushed open again. Susan stood in the doorway. She showed no surprise. Only a knowing, amused expression. My heart plummeted in that instant. I looked at Susan. My voice hoarse. Is what he said true? Susan didn't answer. Instead, she walked in and linked her arm through Derek's with practiced intimacy. Her gesture said everything. Blood rushed to my head. The room seemed to spin. I'd been kept in the dark. All those arguments. That growing distance. All of it had been carefully orchestrated betrayal. The IPO I thought was my crowning achievement was actually the grave they'd prepared for me. Derek, seeing me reeling, grew even more smug. Ethan. Surprised. You thought you'd won the world today. But actually, you've lost everything. He reached out and patted my cheek. A gesture steeped in humiliation. The empire you built with your own hands will soon bear another name. Or rather. He glanced at Susan. Her name. He laughed even louder. The shares Susan holds. Plus what Mr. Wei and I control. We've already crossed 51%. Once tomorrow's settlement goes through, we'll call an emergency board meeting and remove you as CEO. After that, this company will have nothing to do with you. Mr. Wei. Wesley Wei. A name flashed through my mind. One of our biggest competitors. A cutthroat corporate raider known for ruthless tactics. So they'd been in league with him all along. I turned to Susan. The woman I'd loved for 10 years. The woman I'd given half my fortune to. There was no guilt in her eyes. Only cold indifference and impatience. Ethan. Let's be honest. I'm tired of you. This work-obsessed robot you've become. You can't give me the life I want. Derek can. Mr. Wei can. So for your own sake. And for appearances. I suggest you resign tomorrow. Otherwise, dragging it out through the board will only embarrass you further. I looked at the pair before me. The betrayers in the flesh. The fury and betrayal churning inside me slowly crystallized into cold clarity. I drew a deep breath and rose from the sofa. At my full height, I was half a head taller than Derek. I met his eyes and asked, one word at a time, what makes you so sure you've already won? Derek blinked, then burst out laughing like I'd said the funniest thing imaginable. Ethan. Have you lost your mind? We have the shares. Overwhelming control. What can you possibly do against that? Shares. I twisted my lips into a cold smile. You think the only thing I have is shares? I pulled out my phone and, right in front of them, made a call. It connected quickly. A calm male voice came through. Hey, Ethan. My CFO. And my best friend from college. Nathan Liu. Nathan. I said. My voice low but clear. Activate Project Aegis. 2 seconds of silence. Then Nathan's reply, understood. I hung up. Derek and Susan stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Project Aegis. What the hell is that? Ethan. Quit the games. Derek sneered. Susan frowned. Ethan. What are you playing at? I'm telling you. It won't matter. Nothing you do can change this. I ignored them. I walked to the window. Looking out at the city lights below. The city where I'd fought for 10 years. Tonight. It would witness a storm like never before. Within a minute. My phone began vibrating wildly. Calls. One after another. Board members. Investors. Partners. I didn't answer a single one. Susan's phone rang too. She answered. Her face went pale within seconds. What? 4.2 billion. All of it frozen. How is that possible? Her voice had turned shrill with panic. Derek grabbed the phone from her. Say that again. Frozen where? Transferred where? Whatever he heard made his body sway. He nearly collapsed. He looked up at me. Eyes filled with shock and disbelief. Ethan. What? What did you do? I turned to face them. Watching their panic. The frustration and rage inside me finally gave way to grim satisfaction. I walked up to Susan. She was still beautiful. Even with that terrified, twisted expression. I spoke slowly. You said after tonight, the company would be yours. I just drained every cent of its cash. Now that it's an empty shell, do you still want it? Susan's lips trembled. But no words came. Derek was the first to find his voice. Shrieking, 4.2 billion. That's not pocket change. How could you move that much in such a short time? The board would never approve it. No bank would allow it. His shouts echoed through the silent lounge. Susan grabbed at the lifeline. Yes. Ethan. Stop bluffing. That's illegal. You're embezzling company funds. I laughed coldly. Illegal. Embezzlement. I walked right up to them. Looking down like they were clowns. When you were plotting to gut the company, did you think about illegal? When you conspired with outsiders, stole corporate secrets, and prepared a hostile takeover, did you ever think about corporate crime? Each word hit like a hammer. Derek's face went ashen. But he forced out, nonsense. We never stole anything. Where's your proof? Proof. I pulled a small USB drive from my pocket and dangled it before them. Guess what's on here? Derek's pupils contracted sharply. My smile widened. You thought copying core code and client data onto your personal laptop was invisible. You thought those encrypted emails to Wesley Way were unbreakable. Derek. You're too young. And you underestimated Cloud Vault. We're a data security company. To us, you're transparent as glass. Derek began trembling uncontrollably. Cold sweat streaming down his face. He was finished. Those pieces of evidence would put him away for decades. Susan looked at Derek. Then back at me. Confusion and terror warring in her eyes. Ethan. How long? How long have you known? Does it matter? I shot back. While I was killing myself to build this company's future, my wife was plotting with her assistant to turn it into their personal bank. My voice was calm. But every word was a blade. Susan's face went white as paper. She swayed on her feet. No. Ethan. Let me explain. They forced me. Derek and Wesley. They threatened me. I had no choice. The tears came. Rivers of them. Her go-to move. Every time we fought. Those tears would break me. I'd give in. Not tonight. Tonight. Her tears looked like nothing but performance. Forced you. I stepped closer. Holding her gaze. I saw you holding his arm while he announced he was taking my company. And you were enjoying it. I saw that excited look on your face. That didn't look forced. Susan. Save the act. It's over. That stripped away her last mask. The sorrow vanished. Replaced by venomous rage. Ethan. How dare you judge me? She screamed. I gave you 10 years. My best years. And what did you give me? Money. That's all you ever gave me. You worked. And worked. And worked. When did you ever really care about me? What I wanted. I just wanted someone who'd be there. Someone who understood me. What's wrong with that? I listened. And I laughed. Bitterly. I didn't care about you. I didn't understand you. Who canceled a $100 million deal to spend a month in the hospital when your parents got sick? Who flew to Paris to buy a designer's entire studio? Just because you casually mentioned you liked his jewelry. So you'd be his only client. Who put you in charge of our most important division? Against everyone's advice. Because you wanted to build something of your own. Susan. Did you sell your conscience along with your loyalty? She had nothing to say to that. Her mouth opened and closed. But no words came. Because what could she say? I'd given her everything. More than she ever asked for. But greed is a bottomless pit. Once opened, it can never be closed. The lounge door burst open. Nathan Liu strode in with several uniformed security officers. He took in the scene, then came to my side, lowering his voice. "You okay?" I nodded. Nathan turned to Derek. His gaze instantly sharp as a blade. "Derek Koo. You are hereby terminated for theft of corporate secrets and willful damage to company interests. Additionally, we've filed a police report." He slapped a document on the table. "You're not going anywhere until this investigation is complete." Derek stared at the paper. His legs gave out and he collapsed. 2 security guards grabbed him. 1 on each arm. No. Sister Sue. Help me. Sister Sue." Susan didn't even seem to hear. She stood frozen. Eyes hollow. She knew it was over. Derek was dragged out. The lounge fell silent. Nathan glanced at Susan's ashen face, sighed, and clapped my shoulder. "I'll be outside." He left, closing the door behind him. Now it was just the 3 of us. And with Derek gone, just 2. I looked at Susan, the woman I'd once loved more than anything. So many emotions churned inside me. Anger, disappointment, grief. But mostly, relief. "We're getting divorced," I said, my voice flat. Susan jolted like I'd struck her. She looked up, eyes wide with disbelief. Divorce. The word seemed to shock her more than anything else that had happened. "Ethan, you want a divorce?" "Yes. Over this." Her voice rose. Incredulous. "Because Derek said some crazy things. Because I made one little mistake. You're throwing away 10 years. 10 years. Ethan. How could they mean so little to you?" I almost laughed. "Little mistake. I'm sorry. Conspiring to steal my company. That's a little mistake." "Susan, where exactly is your bottom line?" She had no answer, but quickly found another angle. "I didn't know. I had no idea what they were planning. I was lonely. Derek was kind to me. I lost my mind for a moment." The tears again, trying to make me pity her. "Please, Ethan. Give me one more chance. I swear. I'll change. I'll do whatever you say." I watched her perform. Felt nothing. Some things, once broken, can't be fixed. Trust is one of them. "Susan, do you know what I was thinking? Half an hour ago." She stopped crying, looking at me. "I was thinking, after the IPO, I'd hand the company to a professional manager and take you around the world. Make up for all the time I'd lost to work. I even thought of names for our kids." My voice was soft, like I was telling someone else's story. Her tears slowed. She stared at me. Something that looked like real regret flickered in her eyes. "Maybe it was real. But it was too late. But you destroyed all of it. With your own hands." I reached into my jacket and pulled out a document. I placed it on the coffee table in front of her. "Divorce papers. All the real estate. The houses. The cars. You can keep them. I'll give you enough money to live comfortably for the rest of your life. One condition." I paused, holding her gaze. "The 20% of Cloud Vault shares I gave you. You transfer them back to me. All of them. Those shares. I'd given them to her before the IPO as a gift. A symbol of our love. Our shared legacy. Now it was just another bitter joke." Susan stared at the papers, then slowly raised her eyes to mine. Her expression shifted. From regret, to shock, to fury, then to something ice cold. "Ethan, you're ruthless." She laughed, more painful than a cry. "You planned all this, didn't you? From the moment you found out about Derek and me. You were just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. To throw me out and take everything back. With interest. You never wanted to make things right. You just used me. I didn't deny it. Think what you want." Some grief is beyond words. The moment I knew she'd betrayed me, something inside me died. All that was left was logic. Calculation. "You'll never get it." Susan shot up, snatching the papers and tearing them to shreds. "I won't sign anything. That 20% is mine. And I'm keeping it. I'll see you in court. I'll tell everyone what you did. How you treated your wife. I'll destroy your reputation." She was raving. Throwing things. Crystal glasses. fruit bowls, files, shattering everything in sight. Like our marriage. I stood still. Watched her. Let her exhaust herself. When she was done, panting, leaning against the sofa, glaring at me, I spoke. Are you sure you want to go to court? Something in my voice made her flinch. What? What do you mean? I pulled out my phone and pressed play. The recording from the lounge filled the room. Derek's smug voice. Susan's shares. Plus Mr. Wei's and mine. We're already past 51%. Once tomorrow's settlement goes through, we'll remove you as CEO. Then Susan's cold voice. Ethan. Let's be honest. I'm tired of you. This work-obsessed robot. The recording wasn't long. But every word was a slap. Susan's face drained of all color. You recorded that. Her voice was trembling. I put the phone away. Susan. If this recording, along with Derek's stolen files, ends up in front of a judge, guess what happens? Guess whether you'll be seen as a victim or an accomplice. Guess how much of my money you'll walk away with. She collapsed. All the fight drained out of her. Her eyes were empty. She knew. She'd lost. Completely. Irrevocably. Why? Why? Her voice was faint. Hollow. How did we get here? I didn't answer. Because we both knew. Time. Greed. The endless hunger that can't be filled. I picked up my jacket and looked at her one last time. My lawyer will contact you tomorrow. If you're smart, you'll sign. That's the only dignity you have left. I turned and walked out. Without looking back. Outside. Nathan was leaning against the wall. A cigarette burning low. He straightened when he saw me. Stubbing it out. Done. I nodded. Let's go. One more battle. Nathan fell into step beside me as we walked toward the elevator. The board's been blowing up my phone. Everyone's in a panic. He said grimly. Stocks tanking after hours. Several funds are threatening to pull out. Your scorched earth move. Brilliant. But the fallout's going to be ugly. I pressed the elevator button. Watching the red numbers descend. I know. So now. We give them an explanation. One that makes them sleep at night. The doors opened. We stepped inside. In the polished steel walls of the elevator, I saw my own reflection. Tired. But steady. Tonight had been a nightmare. But nightmares end. And before sunrise, I had to clean up every piece of this mess. The emergency board meeting was in the top floor conference room. When I pushed open the door, every head turned. Anger. Doubt. Confusion. Schadenfreude. The long table was packed with directors and investment partners. Every face was grim. The air could have been squeezed into water. The oldest director, a company veteran, and my father's old friend, slammed his hand on the table and stood. Ethan, what in God's name are you doing? His voice shook with fury. Do you have any idea what your decision did to this company today? The losses. The shareholders. Do you know how they're cursing us? The lawsuit's coming tomorrow. Have you lost your mind? His words were a pebble in a pond. Ripples spreading instantly. Mr. Hill. We need answers. Absolutely. You'll take full responsibility for this. We invested billions. Not to watch you burn it down. The room descended into chaos. I walked to the head of the table. Stood still. And let my gaze pass over every face. When the noise began to settle, I spoke. Ladies and gentlemen. I know you're angry. Confused. But before you sentence me, can I have 10 minutes to explain? My calm cut through the noise. They exchanged glances. Finally, the old director waved a hand and sat back down. Fine. 10 minutes. Let's hear what you have to say. I nodded to Nathan. He began distributing prepared documents to everyone at the table, and plugged a USB into the projector. On the screen, Derek's young, ambitious face. And on his laptop, the stolen data. The encrypted emails to Wesley Wei. This is Derek Koo, my wife Susan's assistant. I said, my voice echoing in the silent room. Over the past 6 months, he used his position to steal core technology and client lists. He sent them to our competitor, Wesley Wei, through encrypted channels. Gasps. Corporate espionage. Is this real? I continued. But it doesn't stop there. I played the recording from the lounge. Derek's smug voice filled the room. Susan's shares, plus Mr. Wei's and mine, already past 51%. Remove you as CEO. Absolute silence. Everyone was stunned. The conspiracy was laid bare. The room full of people who'd poured blood and money into this company. And they'd nearly been destroyed from within. Without my intervention. Tonight wouldn't have been Cloud Vault's celebration. It would have been its funeral. Now, I said, shutting off the recording and scanning the room. Does anyone still think my decision was reckless? Silence. Those who'd shouted loudest now stared at their laps. Faces burning. The old director let out a long breath. Guilt and relief in his eyes. Ethan. We owe you an apology. We didn't know. How could we have known? Another investor spoke. Shaken. Thank God Mr. Hill acted when he did. If Wesley had succeeded, we'd be ruined. He'd tear this company apart and sell it for scrap in 3 months. The tide had turned. In an instant. From pariah to hero. But that wasn't enough. I needed to give them more than an explanation. I needed to give them a future. Ladies and gentlemen, I know this incident forced us to pause the IPO. And I know everyone here took a hit. As founder and CEO, I accept full responsibility. I bowed deeply. I apologize. To all of you. Hands waved dismissively. Mr. Hill. This isn't your fault. You were a victim. Too. I straightened. My eyes sharpening. Apologies are my duty. But apologies alone don't solve problems. Now we face 2 choices. 1. Cut our losses. Calm the markets. And restart the IPO. That'll take 6 months. Maybe longer. And after this scandal, we'll never get the same valuation. 2. I paused. Letting the suspense build. What's 2? The old director asked eagerly. I smiled. And said the words no one expected. Cancel the IPO. Pursue an acquisition. Acquisition. Everyone froze. Acquire who? I turned to the projection. Nathan switched slides. On the screen, a name. Novacore Semiconductors. And its profile. Novacore. The country's leading AI chip design firm. Over 300 core patents. Particularly in autonomous driving and smart logistics. Their technology is at least 3 years ahead of ours. And every competitor we have. One director frowned. I've heard of them. Brilliant tech. But they've always refused outside investment. And their asking price is astronomical. True. I said. Until today. Wesley Wei is also trying to acquire them. And he's leveraged everything to do it. His entire fortune. With massive debt. He rushed. Hoping to use our post-IPO stock volatility. Combined with Novacore's tech. To destroy us. Gasps around the table. Now everyone saw Wesley's scheme. A multi-layered trap. Espionage. Then hostile acquisition. Then technological annihilation. Ruthless. So. I continued. The $4.2 billion I moved wasn't frozen. It wasn't hidden. It was transferred directly to Novacore. While we've been meeting here. Our legal team should have just signed the final acquisition agreement. The room erupted. You bought Novacore. With that $4.2 billion. I nodded. $4.2 billion in cash. Plus 15% of Cloud Vault stock. We're merging. Share swap. To form a new company. A true tech giant. Software. Hardware chips. And massive data. All in one. My voice wasn't loud. But it carried absolute conviction. Silence. Dead silence. Then. Thunderous applause. Faces lit up with joy and exhilaration. The gloom vanished. They stared at me with admiration. Almost reverence. My earlier move had been self-defense. Desperate. But this gamble. Was a full reversal. A victory snatched from the jaws of defeat. Mr. Hill. That's insane. A young investor exclaimed. Face flushed. A backdoor acquisition. Brilliant. Brilliant. It's genius. The old director clapped and laughed. Wrinkles deepening. Wesley Wei. That old fox. Never dreamed his own trap would hand us Novacore on a silver platter. He's probably crying in his office right now. The room filled with laughter. The shadows of the past few hours were gone. Everyone was energized. Buzzing about the merged company's future. Watching them. I felt a knot finally loosen in my chest. I'd made it through. The meeting ran until dawn. When every detail was settled and people filed out, satisfied, the sky was turning gray. Nathan walked the last director out and returned to the conference room. I was still by the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the waking city. He brought me a cup of coffee. "What are you thinking?" I took a sip. Warm, cutting through the exhaustion. "I'm thinking, what if I hadn't found out in time?" Nathan was quiet. None of us wanted to imagine it. If Ethan hadn't been meticulous. If he hadn't planted surveillance early. If he hadn't anticipated Wesley's moves. If he hadn't prepared Project Aegis. Cloud Vault would have been carved up like a side of beef. "Don't go there," Nathan said, clapping my shoulder. "It's over. What you need to think about now is how we celebrate." I smiled, then turned back to the window. "Celebrate. Let's bury Wesley way first." A cold glint entered my eyes. Wesley thought he'd just lost an acquisition. No. He was about to lose everything. "What's the plan?" Nathan asked. "Remember Project Pangu? The hyperconverged data center project?" Nathan frowned. "That thing's a money pit. We shelved it over funding. Then. Was. Now. Is now." I turned to him. A hard smile on my face. "We have the technology. Novacore's chips. We have the data. Our own logistics network. And we have a reason. A damn good reason. To spend." Wesley leveraged himself to the hilt for Novacore. When the acquisition fails, the banks will call in his loans. His cash flow will crater. His only real value are his logistics hubs and warehouses. I'm starting Project Pangu. I'll use it to take every single one of his assets. One by one. I'll make him pay for his greed. And his betrayal. Nathan's eyes lit up as he grasped the plan. A real war was about to begin. "I understand," he said firmly. "I'll get it started." The next few days, the business world was rocked by the Cloud Vault Novacore merger. Every headline called it a textbook case of corporate brilliance. My name, Ethan Hill, was everywhere. Some said I was cold-blooded, sparing no one, not even my wife. Others called me a genius, a once-in-a-century business mind. I didn't care. All my focus was on crushing Wesley Way. Just as predicted. After losing Novacore, Wesley's company was plunged into crisis. Banks sent demand letters like snow. Partners bailed. Executives and top talent jumped ship. The stock price collapsed. And I directed Cloud Vault like a shark scenting blood. Striking precisely and mercilessly. I used our capital to poach his top engineers. I used our data to grab his best clients. I used our new chip technology to roll out a smart logistics solution that made his products obsolete overnight. Wesley struggled. He held press conferences, playing the victim. He ran around begging for investors. Futile. Business is war. Victory goes to the victor. No one pities a loser. Especially one who tried to steal his victory with dirty tricks. Within weeks, Wesley's empire crumbled. His company was bought for pennies by a small, unknown firm. The owner, Nathan Liu, Wesley Way, once a titan of industry, walked away with nothing. Word had it. On the day he went bankrupt, he sat alone in his office all night. The next morning, he had a stroke. He was hospitalized. Paralyzed. When I heard the news from Nathan, I was signing documents. Stock options for the new merged company. I signed my name. Then looked up at the sunlight streaming through the window. I felt nothing. Pity. Maybe. But he chose this path. Every step of it. With Wesley dealt with, my life returned to a routine. Endless meetings. Documents. Decisions. The integration of the new company was complex. But it was exciting. I hit it off with Novacore's founder, a tech prodigy named Julian Hung. We'd argue, sometimes passionately, about technical details. Then we'd grab beers and street food and talk till midnight. The company's energy was high. Everyone felt the new momentum. And everyone wanted to make up for lost time. Everything was moving forward. One thing still hung over me, the divorce. After that night in the lounge, Susan had vanished. My lawyers couldn't reach her. No calls. No replies. She seemed to think silence could stop me. I wasn't worried. I had patience. I had time. Then I got a call I didn't expect. From my mother-in-law. Margaret Sue. Ethan. Her voice sounded old and tired. Are you and Susan? Is it really going to end like this? I was quiet for a moment. Mother. This is between us. I know. I know. She sighed. But Susan. She's not doing well. She locked herself in her room. Hasn't eaten in days. This morning. Her brother found her. She'd slit her wrists. Her voice broke. She's in the hospital. Lost a lot of blood. The doctors said it's serious. Ethan. I know she wronged you. I know she did. But. You were married. She was your wife. Could you please come see her? Just once. For me and your father-in-law. I hung up and stood frozen in my office. Susan. Attempted suicide. I didn't know what to feel. Shock. Sympathy. Something else. Nathan walked in. One look at my face. What's wrong? I told him. He frowned. Slit her wrists. Now. Don't you think it's a little convenient? I thought the same. But I couldn't gamble. What if it was real? I'm going to the hospital. I said. Grabbing my keys. Hold things down here. I'm coming with you. No. This is something I have to face alone. On the way to the hospital. Memories flooded back. Our first meeting at a college party. She was wearing a white dress. Like something out of a fairy tale. Our first date. I was so nervous I could barely talk. Our first failed business. Hiding in a cramped apartment. Sharing instant noodles. Still believing the future was ours. All those beautiful moments. Playing like a movie in my head. Vivid, like yesterday. How did it all fall apart? I didn't know. Maybe that's just life. Full of loss and regret. At the hospital. The emergency room doors. My in-laws were there. Margaret. Richard. And Susan's brother. Mark. Their faces showed a mix of hope and resentment. Mark's expression was pure venom. He lunged at me. Grabbing my collar. What are you doing here? You did this to my sister. If she dies. I swear. Mark. Richard grabbed him. Stop it. We don't know the whole story. Margaret took my hand. Tears streaming. Ethan. Don't mind him. He's just worried. I pulled away gently. Looking at the closed ER doors. How is she? They're still working on her. Margaret sobbed. We waited. Minutes stretched into centuries. Finally. The doors opened. A doctor came out. Family. Yes. How is she? She's stable. We got to her in time. But she's severely depressed. She needs care. Support. Take care of her. Everyone exhaled. Relief washed over them. I let out a long breath. Feeling the cold sweat on my back. She was alive. That's what mattered. Susan was moved to a private room. She lay on the bed. Pale as paper. White bandages wrapped around her wrist. She looked fragile. Like she could shatter at a touch. Her parents were by her bedside. Mark paced like a caged animal. Glaring at me. I stood by the door. Didn't go in. Didn't know what to say. Finally. Susan stirred. She opened her eyes. Scanning the room. And her gaze landed on me. Her eyes were complicated. Resentment. Hatred. Regret. Something else. I couldn't name. What are you doing here? Her voice was hoarse. Come to see if I'm dead yet. Susan. Margaret snapped. How can you talk to him like that? Susan laughed coldly. Ignoring her mother. Fixing her eyes on me. Ethan. Are you happy? Pushing me to the edge. Is that what you wanted? I didn't answer. Just looked at her. Mark couldn't hold back. Storming up to me. Jabbing a finger at my chest. Ethan. You cold-blooded bastard. Your wife almost died. And you can't say one kind word. Do you have a heart? Mark. Richard pulled him back again. Shut up. This is a hospital. Another messy scene. I felt suffocated. I'd had enough. I'll leave. I said. Since you're stable. I turned toward the door. Wait. Susan sat up suddenly. Wincing from the pain in her wrist. Ethan. We need to talk. Her voice was different. More determined. I stopped. And turned back. Her parents and brother took the hint. Filing out. Leaving us alone. The room smelled of antiseptic. And blood. What do you want? I said. What do I want? Susan laughed bitterly. Ethan. That's my question. You plotted and schemed to put me in this position. So I'd walk away with nothing. So you'd get your precious shares back. Fine. You win. I give up. Her eyes held a desperate finality. I'll sign the papers. I'll return the shares. But I have one condition. I frowned. What? Cash. I want cash. At the IPO valuation, my 20% is worth at least $3 billion. I don't want houses. I don't want cars. I want cash. $3 billion. Today. And I sign. We're done forever. I stared at her like I was seeing her for the first time. After everything. She was still obsessed with money. $3 billion. An astronomical sum. Susan. Are you insane? I said flatly. We cancelled the IPO. Our valuation isn't anywhere near that. And you. You were complicit. You're in no position to negotiate. I'm letting you keep the properties out of 10 years of history. Don't push your luck. She didn't flinch. Just smiled. A wild, unhinged smile. Mercy. Ethan. You're talking about mercy. You pushed me to the brink of death. And now you want to talk about history. $3 billion. Not a cent less. If you say no, I'll take it to court. Let's see how your new company's stock price holds up when the world finds out you tried to kill your wife. It'll cost you more than $3 billion. She was threatening me. Her own life. My reputation. One last gamble. I looked at her twisted face. And whatever pity I had left evaporated. Fine. I said. You'll get it. Susan froze. What? What did you say? I said you'll get your $3 billion. But I have one condition too. What? Her eyes went wary. I stepped closer. Right up to her bed. And leaned in. Speaking so softly only she could hear. Take the money. Take your family. And disappear. Forever. Out of my world. Completely. Her pupils shrank. She stared at me. Shocked. Confused. She'd expected anger. Negotiation. Threats. Not this cold. Calm finality. You're serious. I never joke. I straightened. $3 billion. To close the book on 10 years. To buy you. And your family. Out of my future. Good deal. She didn't answer. She looked down. Face hidden. The only sound was the hospital monitor's beeps. After a long moment. She looked up. Her eyes were different now. Ethan. Did you ever really love me? I didn't answer. Love. Of course I did. Deeply. That's why it hurt so much when she betrayed me. But now. That question had no meaning. Love had been worn away. By arguments. By distance. By betrayal. What remained was exhaustion. The money will be in your account within a week. I said. My lawyers will update the papers. Don't tear them up this time. I turned to leave. Wait. She called. Ethan. I stopped. Didn't turn. Could you give me some of it now? Her voice was hesitant. My brother's company. He needs cash. I spun around. Eyes cold. Susan. Do you have any idea what you should care about right now? Your health. Your future. Not your worthless brother's endless black hole of a business. Mark Sue was a vortex. Gambling. Debt. Bad decisions. I'd secretly bailed him out for years. Paying off millions. But you can't save someone who won't save himself. And Susan. She always enabled him. It was one of our biggest fights. After everything. She still hadn't learned. Don't tell me what to do. Her face twisted. Yes or no? No. I said flatly. You get nothing. Until the papers are signed. Ethan. You. I walked out. Outside. Mark was waiting. He rushed up. Rubbing his hands. How'd it go? What about the money? Did she get you to agree? His eagerness. So different from the rage before. Made me sick. Go earn it yourself. I said coldly. And walked past him. Hey. Ethan. Wait. Don't. We're family. Nathan appeared at the end of the hall. With 2 security guards. He blocked Mark's path. Mr. Sue. Please step back. Mr. Hill doesn't wish to see you again. Mark looked at the burly guards. Swallowed. And backed off. He watched me disappear down the hall. And couldn't do a thing. Back at the office. I locked myself in. I lit one cigarette after another. 3 billion. It hung over me like a mountain. Cash like that. It wasn't easy to raise. The Novacore acquisition had made us stronger. But integration and R&D were expensive. Our cash flow wasn't as comfortable as outsiders believed. I'd agreed to Susan's demand because I wanted her gone. Her and her whole family. Fast. Clean. I also wanted. I admitted to myself. A clean break. A final punctuation mark on 10 years of history. But now. Cooler head prevailing. I needed a plan. Nathan came in. Saw the smoke haze. Frowned. And opened a window. Didn't go well. I shook my head. Told him everything. Nathan was quiet. Then, 3 billion. Ethan. That's a lot. I know. I ran a hand through my hair. But I gave my word. I want her out of my life. Completely. Nathan sighed. Where will the money come from? Company accounts are off limits. Your personal wealth is mostly tied up. Real estate. Shares. Can't liquidate quickly. I knew. That was the problem. Unless. Nathan hesitated. What about Julian? He has cash from the acquisition. We could borrow. Bridge loan. No. I shut it down. We just merged. I can't create that kind of obligation. Make Julian and his team feel like I mix personal with business. Then what? I stared out the window. Mind racing. Then a name flashed. Someone I hadn't spoken to in years. I picked up my phone and scrolled through contacts. Found it. Hit dial. Rang. Rang. Picked up. A woman's voice. Lazy. Slightly smoky. Hello. Mia. It's me. Ethan Hill. A pause. Then a soft laugh. Well. Mr. Hill himself. To what do I owe this honor? The sun must be rising in the west. Her voice held amusement. And a trace of something else. Old wounds. Mia Lin. College senior. My former admirer. Brilliant. Beautiful. Proud. Now she was a partner at one of the top investment banks. Summit Capital. Known as the Queen of Capital. Sharp instincts. Ruthless execution. We hadn't spoken in years. Not since I'd rejected her. And lectured her about profit-obsessed capitalists. Idiot that I was. Help. I need help. I said bluntly. Help. She laughed again. Ethan. You're calling me for help. I remember someone saying. He'd never have anything to do with money-obsessed parasites like me. She was toying with me. I swallowed my pride. I was young and stupid. I'm sorry. For everything. A long silence. Finally. Her voice softened. Less mocking. More serious. Tell me. 3 billion. Cash. 3 billion. Her voice shot up. Ethan. Did you rob a bank? Wish I could. I smiled bitterly. Tell me everything. I laid it out. The divorce. Susan's demands. My dilemma. She listened in silence. When I finished. A long pause. Ethan. She finally said. Her voice unreadable. I told you. Years ago. Susan wasn't the right woman for you. Vain. Materialistic. She wanted what you couldn't give. And she didn't value what you could. You wouldn't listen. And now you're bleeding. Every word landed. She'd been right all along. I hadn't listened. I thought she was jealous. Now I knew. She'd seen more clearly than I ever did. Too late for that. I said. Voice rough. Not too late. She cut in. Suddenly decisive. I'll lend you the money. I froze. But. I have a condition. What? I want 5% of Cloud Vault. Your original shares. Not the new company. Your personal stake. My heart jumped. 5% of Cloud Vault. After this merger. Was worth far more than 3 billion. This wasn't a loan. This was a power play. Mia. You're taking advantage. Of course I am. She laughed. I'm a businesswoman. I don't do charity. 3 billion isn't a small risk. I'm solving your emergency. I want something in return. Besides. Her tone shifted. You think I care about a few shares. I'm helping you. Helping you close the book on your past. And protecting your future. With Summit Capital backing you. No one will touch you. With me at your side. Your next funding round will be a walk in the park. Ethan. I'm giving you more than money. I'm giving you a ticket to the next level. You know exactly what it's worth. She was right. I needed an ally. A powerful one. And Mia Lin, Summit Capital, was the best possible choice. But the cost, core equity, gave me pause. I need to think. You've got 24 hours. She said crisply. Same time tomorrow. Answer. Or the offer's gone. She hung up. I didn't sleep all night. I sat in my office. Running scenarios. Taking the deal. Declining. Declining meant scrambling for the money. Selling assets. Taking high-interest loans. All slow. All dangerous. If anything went wrong with the company, I'd have no safety net. Taking the deal. Giving up control. Only 5%. But it was still painful. And Mia Lin was no pushover. Nathan arrived at dawn. He saw my red eyes. The overflowing ashtrays. And winced. All night. I told him about Mia's offer. A long pause. What do you think? I asked. Nathan looked at me. Ethan. Logically. We should take it. She's right. Summit Capital's backing is worth more than the money. It's a bet on a better future. But emotionally. He hesitated. I don't trust her. She's brilliant. Ambitious. You might be inviting a wolf in. His worry echoed mine. Time ticked. The deadline loomed. My phone sat on the desk like a bomb. Finally. I picked it up. Nathan watched. Tense. I dialed Mia. Changed your mind. Her voice was smooth. I accept. I heard myself say it. My voice almost hollow. But. I have a condition too. Go ahead. Irrevocable voting agreement. For as long as you hold those shares. On every major decision. Your vote follows mine. A leash. A contract to bind her. Silence. Then. A soft laugh. Ethan. You're still the same. Never giving an inch. Fine. I accept. Relief washed over me. Half my tension gone. I'll have my lawyers draw it up. Money. In your account within 24 hours of signing. Deal. I hung up. I fell back in my chair. Exhausted. Nathan clapped my shoulder. He didn't say anything. We both knew. From this moment. Cloud Vault had entered a new era. Unknown. Dangerous. The next days were brutal. Negotiating with Mia's team. They were sharp. Efficient. And relentless. Every clause was a fight. Every inch had to be defended. Nathan and I pushed back. Hard. Finally. After 72 hours. We had a deal. The signing day. Mia flew in. She wore a crisp white suit. Hair in a high ponytail. Radiating power. Nothing like the girl I remembered. We shook hands. Pen to paper. I looked into her eyes. And saw something beneath the surface. Respect. Rivalry. And something else. Something I couldn't name. Ethan. She said with a confident smile. Welcome. To the real world of capital. The $3 billion arrived fast. I had my lawyers contact Susan. Schedule the signing. This time. No drama. Maybe my speed surprised her. Or maybe she was just desperate to grab the cash. We met at the county clerk's office. She wore black. Sunglasses. Mask. Like a celebrity hiding from paparazzi. She looked thin. Worn. We didn't speak. Strangers going through the motions. When the green divorce certificate was placed in my hand. I felt nothing. Just exhausted finality. 10 years. Over. Her lawyer handed me the signed share transfer. I handed over a cashier's check. $500 million. The rest over 3 business days. She never looked at me. She took the certificate. Turned. And got into a Porsche waiting at the curb. Her brother Mark was driving. He rolled down the window. Shooting me a smug. Mocking grin. Then they sped off. I watched them disappear. And the last tie snapped. Maybe Mia was right. We were never the same. Holding on was just torture for both of us. It was time to let go. After the divorce. I threw myself back into work. With Summit Capital's backing and Mia's strategic mind. The company accelerated fast. Internal integration completed. New funding rounds launched. We attracted top investors. The valuation skyrocketed. I was a spinning top. Meetings. Pitches. Roadshows. Interviews. Too busy to think about anything personal. Late nights. In the quiet. I sometimes felt the emptiness. Loneliness. But it was drowned by the next day's avalanche. I thought. That would be my life. Work. Endless work. Then. A call came. From someone I never expected. Derek's mother. Mr. Hill. Is this Mr. Hill? Her voice was shaky. Timid. Yes. I'm Derek's mother. My face hardened. Derek. A name I hadn't heard in months. Last I knew. He was facing espionage charges. What is this about? Mr. Hill. Please. Please have mercy on my son. She started crying. Desperate. He knows he was wrong. He regrets everything. He's been in there. Tormented. Please. He's our only son. If he goes to prison, how will we survive? I felt nothing. He committed a crime. He has to face the law. That's his own choice. But you can help him. She pleaded. The lawyers said. If you, as the victim, write a letter of leniency, he could get a lighter sentence. Even probation. Please. I'm begging you. I heard a thud. As if she'd dropped to her knees. My heart didn't move. Leniency. For him. For what? Because she was crying. What about my pain? My loss. I can't help you. I started to hang up. Mr. Hill. Wait. Please. She sensed I was leaving. I know. You hate Derek. You hate Susan. But don't you want to know? How they plotted together. How they set that trap. Don't you want to know? What Susan did with your $3 billion. That stopped my hand. What do you mean? Mr. Hill. I know some things. About Susan. And her brother Mark. Derek told me everything. He said he won't carry the blame for them anymore. He said. If you give him a chance. He'll tell you everything. About how Susan came to him first. How she seduced him. How they connected to Wesley. And about her suicide attempt. Her voice dropped. Almost to a whisper. It was all a setup. Her and her brother. An act. A game. All to get your money. My blood went cold. An act. All of it. Susan's pale face on the hospital bed. The bloody wrist. The desperate eyes. All. A performance. A chill ran down my spine. From my feet to my skull. If this was true. How deep did her cunning go? I'd thought she was naive. A pawn used by Derek and Wesley. What if she'd been the mastermind all along? Do you have proof? Yes. Derek has everything. Texts. Recordings. Everything. He saved it all. In case he needed leverage. But now. He just wants to get out. If you meet him. He'll give it all to you. I was quiet. My mind racing. If she was telling the truth. If those recordings existed. Susan had committed fraud. $3 billion. Wire fraud. She could go to prison for life. I took a breath. Fine. I'll see him. The visit was at the county jail. Through thick glass. Derek sat across from me. He was unrecognizable. Haggard. Hollow-eyed. Gray streaking his hair. He flinched when he saw me. Mr. Hill. His voice was hoarse. I said nothing. Just watched. I'm sorry. I know sorry means nothing. But I was stupid. I was greedy. Susan used me. She said you didn't love her. She promised me everything. His words spilled out. I didn't care about his excuses. Where's the proof? He fumbled. Pulled a memory card from his pocket. And slid it through the slot. Everything. Texts. Recordings. Everything. I only ask. When my mother brings you that leniency letter. Just sign it. Please. I took the card. And stood. I'll review it. If it's real. I'll consider it. I walked out. Leaving him in the glass box. Back in my office. I locked the door. And inserted the card. What I found was more damning than I'd imagined. Susan had orchestrated everything. The affair. The connection to Wesley. The hostile takeover plot. She'd been the puppeteer. Derek just a pawn. And the suicide. Recorded in a conversation with her brother Mark. Are you sure about this? It's extreme. What if something goes wrong? Relax. As long as I don't hit an artery. I'll survive. I asked a doctor. But Ethan. He won't fall for it. He'll be furious. He'll fall for it. I know him. He's a hypocrite. He cares about his reputation. He'd never risk being known as the man who drove his wife to suicide. He'll pay anything to shut me up. This time, I'll get 3 billion. Maybe 5. Damn. Sis. That's genius. Then, once we have the money, we disappear. Buy an island. Live like kings. And he can rot here. Alone. I couldn't breathe. The hatred. The scheming. The betrayal. Coming from the woman I'd loved for 10 years. She'd treated me like a fool. A machine. A walking ATM. I closed my eyes. Took a deep breath. And called Mia. Ethan. I need another favor. Go ahead. Trace Susan's money. Find out where it is. Where she and Mark are going. Everything. She was quiet. What happened? I told her. Everything. When I finished, she sighed. Ethan. I take it back. You're not a hypocrite. You're just an idiot. Got conned by the same woman. Twice. She wasn't wrong. I didn't argue. Can you help or not? Of course. Summit Capital's reach goes farther than you know. Give me 3 days. And, she added, don't sign that leniency letter yet. Derek might still be useful. 2 days later, a report arrived in my inbox. Susan had taken the money, and through shell companies and illegal channels, moved it offshore, to a small country famous for its casinos. Photos attached. Susan in a cocktail dress, stacking chips, surrounded by men with hungry eyes. Mark, cigar in hand, posing with 2 blondes. The masks had come off. And then, the final blow. Mark had been caught cheating at the casino, and was facing decades in prison. Susan was burning through the money, trying to buy him free. Then, my phone rang. An international number. I answered. Ethan. It was Susan. Desperate. Pleading. Please. Help me. They're going to kill Mark. She was sobbing. He cheated at cards. They want 10 billion. Or they'll cut off his hands. I'm sorry. I lied. I know I did wrong. But Mark is innocent. Please. One last time. I'll give back the money. I'll do anything. I listened. Susan. I said calmly. I will not help you. Mark got what he deserved. He made his choice. You made yours. You set a trap. You stole $3 billion. We had 10 years. And you burned them. The man you cheated. The fool you manipulated. I am done. You and your brother are not my problem. I'm turning the evidence over to the authorities. You'll be charged with fraud. But I'm not letting that define me. I'm done. With all of it. Ethan. No, you can't. Goodbye. Susan. I hung up. And blocked her number. The aftermath. I heard from Nathan. Mark's leg was broken by casino thugs. Dumped at the embassy. Deported. Arrested in the U.S. He'll die in prison. Susan. Broken. Was flown back by her parents. Now she wanders the streets. Muttering to herself. Dressed in a dirty designer gown. Where's my money? My 3 billion. Her parents are shamed. Struggling just to keep her alive. I feel nothing. She made her bed. Derek got a lighter sentence. 3 years. For providing information. I don't know what to think. He's young. Maybe he'll learn. Maybe he won't. Life went on. Cloud Vault grew. With Mia's help. We became a unicorn. I was crowned a corporate legend. But I knew. Behind the praise. Was Mia. My ally. My partner. My friend. We worked together seamlessly. Trading ideas late into the night. Celebrating wins together like kids. I wasn't sure what I felt. Gratitude. Respect. More. I didn't dare think too hard. One night. After a funding round celebration. I drank too much. Mia drove me home. In the car. I asked a question I'd been holding back. Mia. I said. Watching the streetlights blur by. Why did you ever like me? Her hand tightened on the steering wheel. A long moment. Then. She stopped at a red light. Turned to face me. Ethan. You thought it was because you were smart. Talented. I didn't answer. She shook her head. One rainy day. I forgot my umbrella. Trapped outside the library. Everyone ran past. Except you. You handed me yours. And ran into the rain. without even looking at me. I loved the boy who gave his umbrella to a stranger. Not the CEO. Not the legend. That boy. Light turned green. She drove on. At my building. I got out. Ethan. I turned. That umbrella. She said. A soft smile on her lips. You still owe me one. She drove away. I stood there. Heart pounding. Next morning. I went to the mall. And bought the most beautiful umbrella I could find. Then I drove to Summit Capital's office. I waited outside. When she came out. With a male colleague. Laughing. My heart tightened. I walked over. Mia. She turned. Surprised. Your umbrella. I said. Holding it out. Now I don't owe you anything. She looked at me. Her smile slowly returning. The colleague looked between us. Amused. Wow. Mia. Did you just get a date? She rolled her eyes at him. Then took the umbrella. Ethan. She said. Since you're here. Maybe you owe me lunch too. For interest. I blinked. Then laughed. We'll see. I said. Opening her car door. That lunch changed everything. We talked. About work. And life. And the past. I opened up about Susan. The pain I'd buried. She talked about her own journey. Her struggles. We were the same. Both wounded. Both fighters. Both alone. I drove her back to the office. And on a whim. Without thinking. Mia. I said. My voice a little shaky. Are you free Saturday night? She didn't answer. Just looked at me. A small smile on her lips. I'd like to take you to a movie. Popcorn and soda. On you. She said. I smiled. A real smile. For the first time in ages. Months later. CloudVault relaunched its IPO. The stock soared. I stood on the trading floor. Surrounded by my team. And Mia. She was wearing red. Like a flame. When the bell rang. She turned to me. Her eyes held stars. We smiled. And I knew. This wasn't an end. This was a beginning. Our new beginning. That's the whole story. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment.